Welcome back to the Fourth Down Show, guys. I am your host, Kicking It with Keith. This is the AFC East Index Show, New York Jets edition. It was one hell of a roller coaster ride last year for any New York Jet fan. It was not much good, and it was a lot of bad. So we're going to recap all that into this off season. So stay tuned. Let's go. All right, so the Jets improved on their prior record, which was 4-12, to actually go 7-9. Problem is that they started out 1-7. It was the worst start in franchise history in 12 years. It was pretty dreadful. Trust me, it was the longest 1-7 I ever had in my life. I actually forgot what football was for about 2 weeks. It was pretty, dreadful. So the Jets actually turned it around in some fashion, and they actually won 6 of their last 8 to go 7-9. And some would say that's pretty good progress going into the following season. They didn't really beat much competition. They just beat who was on their schedule, which for any team, that's what you got to do. But there was no team really traditionally over 500. They did beat the Bills at the end of the season, but the Bills benched most of their starters. And if you look about it, the signature win was against the Cowboys when Sam Darnold returned from mono. Whenever your quarterback is out with mono, that just pretty much sums up everything for your franchise, and franchise run by Adam Gase. I mean, no Jet fan is pretty happy right now. So with that being said, let's just go through some of the departures that we had going into this offseason. It's a pretty long list. So let's start with Trevor Siemian, journeyman backup quarterback. Listen, the backup quarterback position was a huge topic last year. When Sam Darnold had mono for doing whatever he was doing, it was a pretty big hole left in that offense because we didn't really have any type of competent quarterback play. And I actually thought Trevor Siemian was going to be okay, but he got hurt. Myles Garrett did his Myles Garrett. And that just ended really poorly. Moving on, we actually moved on from Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson was a pretty big part to the development of Sam Darnold. Robbie Anderson and Sam Darnold had a really good rapport with one another, from their time on the field. And it didn't really, I truthfully didn't think they were going to actually move on from him, but they actually did. I'm not too upset about it. I never really viewed Robbie Anderson as a true number one wide receiver. There are some out there that actually they praise Robbie Anderson, and quite frankly, I don't see it. The frame is too small, the route tree is too minimal, and he's not a true chain mover. So he has a really good skill set down the field with his speed and tracking the ball, but beating double coverage with your speed is one thing. Doing it in the biggest moments is another. And, there were a lot of big moments. Robbie Anderson just came up pretty flat or couldn't get open. Not a fan of the attitude either. So I was actually pretty okay seeing him out the door. We also let go of another fellow wide receiver, Demaryius Thomas. Pro's pro, not the old DT that, we all know and love from Denver, taking, screen pass 70, to the house. He did his thing. He kind of pretty much filled out the depth chart, and Adam Gase pretty much trusts him from his days back in Denver. Usually, when a coordinator or head coach goes back about 4 or 5 years, in the past to bring players back, that's not really a good thing. But whatever, we move on. Progression with the times. But anyways, sorry, let me not go on a tangent. We also let go of the Swiss Army knife, which is Ty Montgomery, wide receiver / running back. I was a big fan of Ty Montgomery, but listen, the backfield is pretty crowded, and someone had to go, unfortunately. So, sucks to see Ty go, but you know what? It is a business, salary cap, casualty, and we move on. And Kelvin Beachum, left tackle. Listen, Kelvin Beachum is a really great human. One day you actually may see him win Man of the Year honors. But in terms of being that left tackle, that rock for quarterback's blind side, he was pretty poor for the Jets, and that's saying it really nicely. I'm glad that, we've gone on to upgrade on the position. It just sucks, such a good locker room guy is no longer there, but, you got to grow with the times, and you know what? It's been real, but we got to move on. Next up, we let go of a pair of cornerbacks. Darryl Roberts picked them off for the Patriots practice squad a few years back. He did his thing, became a starter. I'm always for practice squad guys, growing into a role and doing their thing. God knows there's so many misses in the draft. So it is what it is. Darryl was a pro's pro, and all the best to you in Detroit. And the next cornerback we got rid of was truly the biggest piece of shit the Jets ever signed for $72 million, which is Tremaine Johnson. That experiment was horrendous. Maybe the worst signing of the past 10 years for the Jets, excuse me. And I couldn't be happier to see him leave. Truly one of the most absurd waste of money you can ever look at, especially when it comes to the Jets. Just sucks that the cornerback position has been just a poor position for the Jets since Revis. And, we haven't even put out anything close to competent cornerback play. We can't even draft the position right, for fuck's sake. Excuse my language. But it is what it is. We move on. We actually just recently cut Brian Winters. He's been an Izit guy. He was pretty injury prone, pretty average guard. Nothing special. Just sucks we got rid of him. And, he was picked up by someone I was not too happy about, but we'll touch on that on a later date. And unfortunately, here are the big hitters. We lose all-pro linebacker C.J. Mosley for an opt-out due to the COVID-19 situation going on in the world and in our country. We don't know if we're getting an NFL season, and one of the precautions C.J. Mosley took was to avoid any type of exposure to the COVID-19 virus. Listen, God knows I respect anyone who's opting out for anything remotely related to the COVID-19 situation, me being a frontline worker. All the best to CJ Mosley. It just sucks. We only got 2.5 quarters out of him. And 2.5 quarters out of a top 3 paid linebacker is typical to the New York Jets, right? I truly like CJ, but 2.5 quarters. Tore his groin, and, it must have been the worst torn ever, but whatever. Let me not. Sorry, the Jet fans coming out. I'm trying to be unbiased as I possibly can. And the real big hitter, the huge departure of this offseason is all-pro safety. Do it all. Just mainstay Jamal Adams. As you can see, I'm not a happy camper about it. I'm not happy that we traded him. I'm not happy that he forced his way out. It was truly a disgusting way to exit. I really... it took me a while to get on the Jet side of things with this, but he made it easy for me. When you're going around, cities telling, fans you're trying to get to this team and you're trying to do this and you're trying to do that, that's disgusting, bro. You're better than that. Your play is so much better than that. You didn't have to go that route. It is what it is, and we move on. The Jets actually got a pretty good haul. They got Bradley McDougall, a pretty solid safety, and they also got 2 first-round picks and a 3rd in return for Jamal Adams and a 4th. Listen, that's exactly what you get for a player of this caliber. Anything less, and heads had to roll. So all the best to Jamal Adams. You know what? Hopefully you find peace in Seattle, and we move on. And the only way we move on is if we hit with these 2 first-round picks. We hit with these 2 first-round picks, and nobody remembers this terrible summer, this terrible year with this crybaby of a stud player, and you know what? We just move on. It is what it is. We can't stay just strapped to the situation. We have to move on. To some positives about the New York Jets, some key additions. We actually added Brashad Perriman. I was a big fan of Brashad Perriman down in Tampa Bay. Early in his career, I thought he was going to be a bust in Baltimore. The offense really didn't suit him. It was pretty slow pace. It wasn't really, fit to what Brashad Perriman actually grew into, which was a really good third option for Jameis Winston and Bruce Arians in Tampa Bay. Also, let's not forget that he was playing with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, 2 absolutely outstanding wide receivers, and Brashad Perriman did his thing as a third option with less attention towards his way. That's all good and dandy, but he is not getting that type of help coming to New York. He's going to be looked at as possibly the number 1 guy, and, well, I'm optimistic about it. We'll see. We don't know how Brashad Perriman is going to pair up against the top corners that we will be facing, and some of those corners like, Stephon Gilmore and Byron Jones, and so on and so forth. We're going to be expecting a lot from the Brashad Perriman addition. Moving on to George Fant, tackle. Not a big fan of any lineman coming from Seattle. The last good lineman in Seattle was Steve Hutchinson, and that's been over 10 years now. So, listen, George Fant, whatever he becomes, it is what it is. Not really high in the situation, but maybe he can just fill in as a good rotation piece. But It's nothing to jump up and down about. We move on to guard Greg Van Roten from the Carolina Panthers. I'd be lying to you if I knew a lot about Greg Van Roten, but he feels the need. We let go of Brian Winters. We weren't really good at guard as it is, and we'll see what we get from Greg Van Roten. Excuse me. All I know is Christian McCaffrey had the year of the year last year, and maybe he helped in some regard. Even though Christian McCaffrey is an all-world athlete, we definitely don't have that type of talent on our team. But if we had a guy blocking for that type of guy on our team, I tell you, I'd like that. So that's where we signed Greg Van Roten, guard. We also had an addition to Connor McGovern. A lot of Jet fans are very high on this addition to the offensive line. Listen, we needed a mainstay at center. Center has been a really poor position for the Jets. We brought a guy out of retirement last year, and that was just a complete shit show. All due respect to that move, but it just didn't work out. So hopefully Connor McGovern can be the Jets center for at least 3 to 5 years. Because, listen, you need a center with a young quarterback, and that's a huge need that the Jets need to fill. Moving on to Patrick Onwuasor. Listen, we lost C.J. Mosley, so Patrick, your time to shine. I actually liked what I saw from you from the Ravens last season. You look like a really smart linebacker. I think that there's going to be a lot of reps for you. We have Neville Hewitt in the fold, but listen, with Greg Williams as a D coordinator, he'll find a way to put you on the field and put you in the place to make a play. So, you know what? I'm very excited about Patrick. We tend to do well with adding some players from like the Ravens and the Steelers. So, I'm very excited about this addition. Probably my second favorite signing of the offseason. Moving on to the last key addition that we had, which is Pierre Desir, cornerback from Indianapolis. Listen, I've actually watched a lot of Pierre. I'm not a big fan. There's not a lot of speed there. I feel like he's a slow corner, but he's going into a division where he doesn't have a lot of speed to like match up with. So in that regard, maybe it's probably a better fit for him. It's going to be a lot colder weather up here for him. He's not indoors, In Indianapolis, you're indoors, and that field is like a track meet. So listen, I don't know what to expect from Pierre Desir, but I'm a little worried about that speed. And, just going back on the cornerback position, we've been really bad at putting good corners out on there as a product. And, I need that to end, because the Jets, since I've loved the Jets have been pretty solid at corner. And ever since Rivitz, it's been pretty dreadful. So let's hope Pierre Desir can turn into a really reliable cornerback, because that's all I'm asking for. Just a reliable starter, All right. So we move on to the draft. We're going to run through this real quick. The Jets did a pretty good job with this draft, personally. We don't know what they're going to turn into, but personally, I kind of like it looking back at it now. They start off with Mekhi Becton. Listen, you needed to fix that offensive line yesterday, and that left tackle position is the quarterback's best friend. You got the biggest human in the world, probably bigger than the Big Show himself. I'm very excited to see Mekhi Becton out there in the Jets uniform, and I hope the production, exceeds expectations. So all the best to Mekhi Becton, first round pick for the Jets. Second round, Denzel Mims, one of my favorite players in the draft last season. Listen, he's probably going to get a bad rap because he's a wide receiver from Baylor. Had a little bit of a drop issue, but he is an absolute ballerina on the sideline. 6'3" frame, huge. I believe he's 226. He's not your prototypical Jets wide receiver. We tend to have a lot of little guys out there, but this kid, listen, if this kid could turn into anything, if he could be an Anquan Bolden, if he can be a tiny bit of AJ Green, listen, we're going to love him. We're going to jump up and down for him. So there's a lot riding on Denzel Mims. We're here. We're backing you. All the best. You're going to kill it, kid. Don't worry. All right. Ashton Davis, DB out of Cal. Listen, I was very critical on this pick. We moved back, I believe. I don't recall who we traded with, but we moved back. We accumulated more picks later in the draft, and we selected Ashton Davis, and we ignored a few positions. And at the time, we drafted a DB who can play both safety positions and the nickel position, assuming we're going to have Adams and May. We don't have Adams now, but we have Bradley McDougal and May. So I don't know where Ashton Davis fits into the mold, but he'll be definitely in the rotation. He's going to be in the mix. I think Greg Williams is going to love this kid. So yeah, hindsight's 2020, and I look forward to what Ashton Davis is going to bring the Jets on the field. The next two picks are Florida Gators, Jabari Zaninga, outside end, and we have running back LaMichael Pirine. Zaninga, I can't lie to you. He wasn't my favorite player in Florida. I'm a huge Gator fan, by the way. Had moments, but nothing special. A little slightly injury prone. So I don't know what we're gonna do with that. Very curious. Maybe the most curious acquisition of the whole season, which is Zaninga. But we'll see what we get out of him. Michael P. Ryan is gonna be a stud. I'm very excited for Michael P. Ryan. He is gonna be a hard-working, a better version of Sean Green. Um, I don't know what that's gonna actually translate into, but think of Jordan Howard, but a little bit faster. So I'm very excited to what Michael P. Ryan's gonna bring to the New York Jets. That backfield is stacked, so he's gonna have to make the most out of those reps. Moving on to the next few picks, we actually drafted a backup quarterback, James Morgan. Don't know much about him, but I'm glad we can develop something behind Darnold. Offensive guard Cameron Clark. Very excited to see if maybe he can actually turn into a starter. We took him pretty late, but hey, man, lightning in a bottle, you can get linemen late. You never know what you can get with a lineman late, so fingers crossed. Bryce Hall, pretty coveted cornerback out of Virginia. I'm actually really excited about this prospect, but he may start on the PUP list. Has a really high ceiling, so we'll see what we're gonna get with Bryce Hall. Hopefully he's healthy. And moving on to the last selection with Braden Mann, a punter. I hear nothing but great things. He may actually be my favorite Jet this season, and that's sad because he's a punter. So let's just jump into the depth chart real quick. We're going to do this with all the teams in the division. As you can see, the Jets offense, we have Denzel Mims and Brashad Perriman opposite of each other on the outside. We have Jamison Crowder in the slot. As you can see, the offensive line is a little revamped. We have pretty much just one returning face, which is Alex Lewis at left guard. You have the rookie Mekhi Becton, Connor McGovern at center, Greg Van Roten at right guard, Chuma Udoga at the right tackle position, former teammate at USC with Sammy Darnold, who's at the quarterback position. And we all hope for Sam Darnold to take that leap. And Lord knows we need it, because I don't think this team's going to be any good unless he takes that leap. As you can see, we have Le'Veon Bell in the backfield, and there is Chris Herndon, who may be the key to this whole thing working. That's easy to say, if he's there. Your best availability is availability. So, best ability is your availability. So, Chris Herndon looks like a favorite target for Sam Darnold whenever he's out on the field, but he has to be out on the field. So, listen, man, if we could get some type of competent tight end play, it'll just make this offense tick a little bit better. And, we'll see. We'll see. This all comes down to Sam and Adam Gase. If they can coexist and actually just find that niche and bring out the best in Sam. Let's touch on the more dramatic changes of the team, which is on the defense. I think you can see our little trademark there up on Bradley McDougall as he takes over for all-pro safety, which is Jamal Adams. Opposite of Marcus May, we have Pierre Desir on the outside. You'll normally see Poole in the nickel position, not on the outside as a corner, but he's the best we got. So I threw him out there. Ideally you're going to see him covering the slot. As you can see, a rookie Zaninga on the outside with Jordan Jenkins. In the middle, huge changes. We're bringing back Avery Williamson, who came off an ACL injury. Everybody was hoping to see Avery Williamson and CJ Mosley last year. He tore his ACL, and then CJ Mosley tore his groin. This year, Avery Williamson is healthy, and now CJ Mosley opts out for the whole season. So we're looking at maybe Neville Hewitt to fill in the fray. We're also looking at Patrick Onusar to fill in the fray. It's going to be a rotation alongside Williamson. So we'll see what we got. We also have Blake Cashman in the depth chart as well. Up front, Steve McClendon, a pro's pro. Gotta love that guy. He just means business. No nonsense type of guy. Nose tackle. I'm a big fan of his. True leader in the locker room. Henry Anderson. Henry shows flashes. Kind of happy. He's grown into the player he's grown into. I think Greg Williams gets a lot out of him. Be nice to see him hit double-digit sacks. Be nice to see anybody on this team hit double-digit sacks, or for that matter, maybe like 8. And speaking of sacks, we touch base on the guy who needs to be the star of this defense and maybe the star of the team if you really look at it, which is Quinnen Williams. We drafted him really high. Last year he kind of came on late. There's a lot of talent. There. And, we need to see it. I know last year he had a little slight injury. He wasn't there consistently. Quinnen, listen, we need you, bro. We need you. If you can be anything like, DeForest Bruckner, anything of that like mold, Chris Jones, it'd be needed. It'd be needed. Let's move on to the schedule for the Jets. It's a brutal one. Week 1 at the Bills. Week 2 at the 49ers. Those are two really rough back-to-back games. Week 3 at Indianapolis. Really good roster. Ooh, excuse me. We follow that up with the Denver Broncos and the Cardinals at home. Don't get it twisted. These two teams have gotten better, and the Jets haven't. So that, if you think those are going to be easy wins, please think again. Moving on to Week 6, the Chargers. Week 7, the Bills. Week 8, the champion Chiefs. Those are 3 tough games, and not to mention we gotta go to the Chargers out west and come back home to the Bills, and then back out west to the Kansas City Chiefs. Not really west, more like middle America, but excuse me, not middle America, central, like, you know what I mean. Sorry, this whole alignment of the divisions has just been shit, but you know what I mean. After the Chiefs, we have the New England Patriots. We don't know what we're going to expect with that matchup. We tend to just not do well against them, even when we are good. Dolphins before and after the bye. We see the Las Vegas Raiders at home again for a consecutive year. Then we head out west for 2 grueling weeks against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Jared Goff and the Rams. Just another 2 weeks of hell. And we finish up with Baker coming back to MetLife Stadium, and then we head out to the road to finish against the New England Patriots. All right, with that being said, my final thoughts, man, listen. This team is a mess. I hate to say it. If you're a Jet fan out there, this is the truth. The team is not good. This team is possibly about 3 years away from being good, and that's with competent GMing, competent head coaching, and competent quarterback play. And right now, there's a huge dysfunction. There's a huge disconnect from the leadership group to even the fans. To expect, anything close to 9 wins is being foolish, truthfully. And there's just a lot of people out there who are overly optimistic that we're going to get 9 wins, maybe 10. I truly don't see it. I can't wait to be wrong if that's what happens. But listen, it's going to be tough. Just buckle in. Some people out there may think we're tanking for Trevor Lawrence. Some people think we're just going to be 7-9 again. Truly unpredictable what we're going to expect from the New York Jets. All I know is this possibly is the last year for Adam Gase. My biggest fear, though, is that we actually move on from Sam Darnold before we move on from Adam Gase. So let's hope I'm wrong. And fingers crossed, man. I'm normally optimistic with the New York Jets, but I'm tired. It's going to be a long one. So listen, subscribe, like below, show some support to the channel. We're definitely going to, reach out to all the fans as this page grows. This channel is going to be a huge hit for everyone when the NFL season does actually occur. And we're just getting started. This is the AFC East Index Show. Our next topic on the AFC East is going to be the Dolphins. There's a lot of positivity down there in Miami. So stay tuned. That's going to be coming up very, very shortly. Please don't forget, like and subscribe down below. Always remember, legends are made on 4th down.